بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم كن لوليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا يا مدبر الأمور يا باعث من في القبور يا مجري البحور يا ملين الحديد لداود صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بنا ما أنت أهله في الدين والدنيا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my dear friends. Alhamdulillah, we are up to week 5 of the RSR period, and mashallah, we are in the first week of Shahr Sha'ban, which is a beautiful month full of occasions of the birth of many of our Imams, Imam Hussein, Imam Sajjad, Imam al-Mahdi, and Hadrat al-Abbas, and Ali al-Akbar. So it's a beautiful month full of beautiful occasions. So I would like to congratulate you for entering such a beautiful month, and please remember us in your du'as during the nights of Shahr Sha'ban, inshallah. So let's start with our session. So with the Quranic verse, we are going to continue the second and the last part of the verse that we started last week. And our topic, if you remember, was what really matters in life. If you remember, we discussed that, we mentioned what really matters in this life is really achieving the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we also said that we can achieve that through obeying Allah and following the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. This week, I want to show you how is it that the pleasure of Allah, achieving the pleasure of Allah, is what really matters in life. And we try to contemplate together and think together about the results of our actions in the hereafter, and that can help us to realize basically the purpose of this life, if you like. So when we think about the results of our actions, when we leave this temporary world, we start to comprehend and understand what really matters in life. What I'm going to tell you is not exactly what we are going to see in Qiyamah, but it helps us to understand the reality of this temporary world. We obviously get this information from Quran, from our imams, and the hadith of the Prophet to help us, kind of think about what actions we should do, what we are meant to do in this life. So what I'm trying to do this week, instead of just mentioning some or giving you some information, I'll try to take you to a journey, and this sort of journey is towards your anticipated destination. Are you ready to take the journey? Let's begin. So at the beginning of the journey, I want you to be aware, well, most of you, or all of us, we are aware of this fact, but we tend to forget that we are all leaving this world. We are all dying. And Quran has got many verses stating this fact. I picked a couple for you. The first verse say, كل نفس بما كسبت رهينة. Every soul for what it has earned will be returned. So basically this verse is telling us that whatever actions we do is we're gonna meet that action later on, which kind of is telling us we are leaving this world. Another verse directly addresses death is in Surah Al-Imran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Every soul will taste death. So, as you can see, these verses are showing us like this world is temporary. So we are here for a reason. We are here in this world for a very short term. What for? To build our houses, to prepare our souls, to prepare ourselves to live in the hereafter. So basically, we build our houses with our actions and with our choices. How? Let me tell you how. Every action we do is a reflection. It is like a drawing. It is like, painting. Every action you do, you draw a line. And you do another action and you draw another line. And you keep it drawing and drawing and drawing until the brush is taken from you, and then your life is ended. And that's it. Your drawing is finished. Or you can look at it as a building. Every action you do, you are actually adding one brick to your house and to build your house. So it's like everything you do is reflected in the hereafter, just like what the verse I mentioned at the beginning. Everything we do, we're gonna meet it in the hereafter. If we look at this temporary life, and someone wants to build a house, you don't see them, they just jump and build their house anyway. They would first go to see an agent, and they will discuss with the agent which areas are good. They will probably look for a clean area, wide, peaceful place, probably far from noise. Maybe they don't want to, a noisy place. Another thing, probably you would ask about who lives in the area. You don't want the bad neighbors. You want good neighbors. You want to live in an area where good people live. I don't think you would, prefer to live in an area with criminals and thieves. Don't you agree? So probably who lives in the area is something you would also consider. Another thing, probably some people might think about living close to certain facilities like school, markets. For example, for us, we live in western areas. We would like to live close to halal shops, or some where we can get halal meats. We don't want to live like 2 hours drive far from halal areas. So different people select different lands, different areas according to their needs and according to what really matter for them. So keep that in mind, because it will help you at the end of this journey, what really matters. So that's in this life, in this temporary world. Similarly, in the hereafter, there are different lands, and there are different areas with different characteristics. Let's start with some of the lands. Let me show you some of the lands and see at the end which one you would like to pick, where to build your house, where to draw your lines. So one land is known with the area of disbelievers. So who lived in this area? Scary people, the likes of Shaitan, Fir'aun and Yazid. They're criminals, just like Harmala, the man who killed the child of Imam Hussein. So they are beasts. They don't have mercy. I don't think you want to live with such people. I don't want you to see your neighbors, someone like Harmala or Yazid. I don't think so. Another thing, the characteristics of this area is ugly. It smells so bad, full of bad smoke. Actually, there is nothing real in this area. It's all smoke. And it's so dark and very dirty and it smells awful, because all awful people are here. And obviously, because it's such an area, you won't see imams here. No imams, no malaika, or no angels, and there's no nur. It's all darkness. I'm sure you wouldn't want to build your house here. You wouldn't want to have a house of smoke, in a dirty and such a smelly area. So that's one area. Let's see what other lands and what other areas are available. Another land, it's still dark, and you would look around and it's so dirty and disgusting. But there is one thing good about this area. It's that it's far from criminals. So you would look around, you won't see Yazid and his likes. But still there is no nur, still there is no imams, and it's still dirty and dark. We look around and we see there's another area. This area is known to be at the border. So it is outside the dark area, but it's close to another area known as like a forest, and it's called the area of believers. But it's not inside the area of believers, it's just at the fence, like in between. So that is another area. Let's see what other areas are available. Another area is actually inside the forest. And because it's inside the forest, there's trees, and you can hear the sounds of birds and waterfalls. It's not dark here, but it's still cloudy. It's not sunny. And another thing about this area, it's far from the center. So you can't really see the center of the forest. Another area, it's actually deeper towards the center. And here there are less trees. And it's so light because it's not cloudy anymore. And therefore you can see the center because of there's less number of trees. And therefore in this area you can see the Prophet and the Imams. Beautiful. There is another more beautiful area. It's even closer to the center, and people in this area, they don't just see the Imams, they can hear them as well. How amazing. So instead of birds and waterfalls, you're actually hearing the words of the Imams alayhim salam. And there's another more beautiful and amazing area, which is the center of the forest. People in this area, they don't just see and hear Imams, they actually sit with them and have conversation with them. They're the closest to the Imams. And the characteristic of this area, it's so intense in light. It smells flowers and air is so fresh and there's no fear. It's just peace and comfort. So now, throughout this journey, you got a closer look at what to expect in the hereafter. Where would you build your house? Where would you draw your lines? Where would you put your bricks? Obviously, all of us want to be in the center. We won't be satisfied unless we are with the Imams. We can't just be looking at them or just hearing them. We want to sit down with them and converse with them. Let alone, being far away or being unable to see them or being in a totally different area. That's something, we don't even want to think about it. We want to be in the center with them, right with them, sitting with them. However, unfortunately, with our actions, we don't draw our lines on the side of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We draw our lines on the opposite side. We don't put our bricks in the land of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We put them very far away. We back by and we have our line is drawn in the dark area. We say haram and our line is drawn in the dark area. We don't take care of our hijab and then we see ourselves far from light, far from the center. So basically, unfortunately, our actions and our intentions keeps us away from the center. So we should direct our actions, direct our thoughts towards Ahlul Bayt and try our best to have our actions and draw our lines and put our bricks in the as close as possible to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So that is what life is really all about. It's like a workshop where you draw your drawing or you build your house. Drawing and building ourselves, who we want to become and where we want to be. So we need to be careful not to draw our lines and not to put our bricks far from Ahlul Bayt or in the area of darkness. And we should direct all our thoughts towards the Noor of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So now we have reached the activity of the verse. So from this verse, to apply it in our life, we should try and have a journey inside ourselves and discover where we draw our lines, where we add our bricks, and we try to keep all our actions as close as possible to Ahlul Bayt and as far as possible from darkness. I'll leave you with a short break now. Okay. These are some thoughts for you to think about. Let's start the next part of our session and the virtue of the week. Sister Alia and Sister Malak has prepared a wonderful two stories from our fourth Imam, Imam Ali Sajjad alayhi salam. One is about the essence of worship and the other is about dealing with an insult. How do we deal with an insult if someone behaves negatively towards us? Let's start with the first one. So, Imam Ali Sajjad, as most of us know, or all of us know, he is the son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and he was known with the laqab, as we saying, a Sajjad, who is a person, he does lots of sujood, and he was known with another title, known as Zainul Abidin, which means the adornment of worshippers, the most beautiful example for the worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he was the only male who could survive the battle of Karbala because of his sickness. He couldn't fight, and that was a wisdom, that was a hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep him alive. So in this story, we can see that one man brought some water for Imam Sajjad alayhi salam to perform ablution. And that man saw the Imam, his skin was faded, the color was changed, and the Imam, his entire body was shaking. So that person, after the Imam has done his ablution, he asked him, oh ya Mawlai, oh ya Imam, like, why is this happening to you? Why your body is shaking? Why your color has changed? The Imam alayhi salam has told him, can you at all imagine in whose presence I'm going to stand? It is the Lord of Lords. So, from this very simple story about the Imam, it brings to us few realization about the essence and the meaning of worship. The first realization is that we should always be aware of who we are intending to stand before in our prayers or in any worship. When we are doing a certain worship, we should be aware who we are worshipping, who we are talking to, especially in salah, especially in prayers, because that is the meaning of prayers. Prayers in Arabic means salat, which means sila, and sila means like you are connecting something to something. So during prayers, we are trying to connect our hearts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is the essence of worship. If we don't attend to our prayers with consciousness, if we are not conscious of what we are saying, if we are not aware of who we are talking to, we are not worshipping Allah in the correct manner. So that's one realization we can get from this story. Another realization is that we learned from Imam Sajjad is that we should approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a two-sided feeling. Fear and hope. Fear because Allah is the Lord of Lords. He is the all-seeing. He is the all-knowing. He knows me more than myself. He knows all my actions and all my bad things, and He knows all my sins. So I feel fearful. At the same time, I come with my heart full of hope, because Allah is the all merciful. So I approach Allah and hoping that He will accept me to His kingdom. Another realization that we can get from this story is that we should make our heart to pray instead of just empty movements or empty words. So when we say the words, we should say them from hearts, not just like, repeating words which, we have memorized them and it just keep repeating over and over and over again, just like a recording with no meanings. We are reading the verses in our prayers and our mind somewhere else. Our mind is still at the school, or our mind is with our friends, or with the TV, or with the movie that we have watched. So that is not a proper worship. It doesn't fit the creator of creation, Allah Rabbil Alameen. When we start to pray with our heart rather than our tongue and our limbs, instead of just empty movements and empty words, we start only then to realize the beauty of worship. We start to comprehend why the Imam starts shaking when he directs himself to do ablution, to do salah. We start to understand this feeling a little bit, in a degree, when we start, praying with our hearts and we become conscious of what we say. And we start to see the beauty of the conversations, the beautiful conversations of the Imam that he has in his conversation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have many collections of these du'as and these munajat in a book called As-Sahifa Sajjadiyya. There are many books that has the du'as and a munajat of Imam Zain al-Abidin, but this book is specifically for Imam Zain al-Abidin. And at the end of this session, I will give you an example. I will leave you at the end of this session with a couple of minutes to listen to one of his beautiful whispered dua, whispered prayers. So that is the first story, the essence of worship. The second story, as I mentioned, it deals with how should we behave with someone who, say something negative to us, or if you like, insult us. Should we feel offended and say, equal words to them, or we should deal in a different way? So this story about Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam says that the Imam was sitting, with his companions one day, and then there was this man who came to him and he started just, shouting and, saying bad words and insulting the Imam. The Imam was just quiet. He didn't even reply to him, and he didn't even change his face or anything. He just kept silent and didn't say anything. Then the man left, and the Imam looked at his companions and said, "Did you hear what this man said to me?" The companions said, "Yes, we wish that, you said something equal to him. You wish that, this is not something that to be said to you. You are, our Imam. How can he, how dare he says that about you?" He said to them, "Come with me, let's go to his house and hear my reply to him." So they were all like, "Yes, we want you to, just reply to him. He deserves, to say something bad to him. And the Imam replied to them with this verse: وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا لِذُنُوبِهِمْ وَمَنْ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَلَمْ يُصِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. So basically the verse is saying that if someone do something bad or do a sin, and then they remember Allah and they ask for His forgiveness, and they don't insist on their bad action, Allah will forgive them. So when the Imam said this verse, the companions knew that the Imam will not say anything bad. He's just going to say something good to him. So the Imam and his companions reached the house man, the house of the man, and he knocked the door, and someone came up. Who are you? He said, so basically it was the servant who opened or the slave who opened the door. Who can I tell? What shall I say to my Sayyid, or the owner of the house? The Imam told him, just tell him I am Zain al-Abidin, wants to talk to him. The man heard, and he just wanted to prepare himself for an encounter, thought that the Imam came to fight with him. And he came outside and he was like, yes, what you want from me? And he was thinking that, he's gonna fight with him. So the Imam told him, my brother, you have come to me and have said something bad about me. If the thing that you have said about me is correct, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me because I did something bad. If what you said about me is wrong and I'm innocent of of that you said about me, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. That man was shocked. He said, you wanna ask Allah for my forgiveness because I insulted you and I said something wrong about you? He fell down to the floor and he fell on the hands of the Imam and started kissing his hand, and he said, forgive me, you are innocent of all what I said. What I said describe no one but describe me. I am the bad person. So it's such a beautiful story from Imam Zain al-Abidin. So from these stories we can learn a few different things. From the essence of worship, we can learn that our worship shouldn't just be empty words, empty intention, or empty movements. We should work on our heart and make our heart pray as well. And we are conscious of what we say. Also, we learned from the essence of worship from Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam that we should approach Allah with fear and hope, just like refugees, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept us in a safe place. And the second story teaches us to be patient with someone who acts negatively towards us, and also teaches that our actions actually affect people, and if they are bad, it can make them good people if they see how good we react to them. And finally, that in any manner, in any situation, regardless to how people act towards us, or regardless to what they say to us, we should deal with them in a manner that makes Allah happy with us. So we shouldn't go by our anger or by our, instant feeling. So that is our topics for this week. We reached the end of our session, and I would like to give you a quick summary. So today, alhamdulillah, we have learned something about what really matters in this life, and that we should direct all our actions and all our thoughts to be as close as possible to Ahlul Bayt and as far as possible from darkness and from bad or dark area, if you like. Also, we have learned something from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, that we should improve our prayers, our worship, and our behavior with people. We should deal with them in a manner that makes Allah happy with us, and in a way that makes people feel different, and probably they change because of our action. And lastly, I would like to remind you that for this week you have an assignment, so don't forget to answer the questions and submit your answers on the due date, which is Sunday the 7th of June. And I tried not to give you any links for YouTube this week, so you have more time to work on your questions rather than watching YouTubes. Okay, my dear friends, now we have reached towards the end of our session, Alhamdulillah. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will look forward to talk to you inshallah next time. I will leave you, as I promised you, with a couple of minutes of the munajat of Imam Zain al-Abidin. It's known as Munajat al-Raghibin.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إلهي إن كان قل زادي في المسير إليك، فلقد حسن ظني بالتوكل عليك، وإن كان جرمي قد أخافني من عقوبتك، فإن رجائي قد أشعرني بالأمن من نقمتك، وإن كان ذنبي قد عرضني لعقابك، فقد آذنني حسن ثقتي بثوابك، وإن أنامتني الغفلة عن الاستعداد للقائك، فقد نبهتني المعرفة بكرمك وآلائك، وإن أوحش ما بيني وبينك فرط العصيان والطغيان، فقد آنسني بشرى الغفران والرضوان،